Hi guys, Thierry here, also known as Video Demon, and today we're doing a new video, another music related video. I've wanted to do this one for a while, I've planned it, and I've also written some notes here as well, like physically on paper, because, it's the best way for me. So I hope that the video doesn't get annoying with this paper rustling around, but deal with it. And I'm also gonna edit this video a lot more as well, put some images and words in when I need to. So we'll see how that goes. And just a few notes before I begin the video. I mentioned that I'm gonna release a documentary. It was actually for like my university project. The documentary it's actually finished, but my co-worker contributor, he's just adding a little bit more for his own vision too. But obviously, if he doesn't get around to finishing it this month, I'm just going to put the abridged version in because I promised it and I wanted to share it for a long time, but I haven't been able to. And I'm not a big fan of delaying things. But as Nintendo, the CEO of Nintendo said, a delayed game could end up being really good. A rushed one will forever be ruined. Well, I know I'm paraphrasing that, but yeah, something like that. And also, other videos that I plan to do, I might be reacting to some old YouTube videos of mine from like over 10 years ago, like 9 or 10 years ago. If you really want to see that, let me know in the comments. Because, yeah, it would be funny to look at, to watch videos of my past self and probably cringe at. But anyway, let's get on with this video in hand. So, today, guys, we're going to be talking about 10 of my favorite underground, underrated, lesser known nu metal bands. Because it's kind of like this channel has become like the unofficial nu metal channel, I guess. Like, even though I'm like Gen Z, technically, I really vibe with this sort of music, as I've like mentioned loads of times. Nu metal is a genre that's very divided, even to this day, even when it came out. Some people love it and realize that it was a big influencer for, it's very influential to a lot of musicians now, and even back then. And it's known for having, very like groovy riffs and elements of hip hop sometimes, and lyrics that might come off as immature but very emotional. But at the same time, it's also hated on because it's seen as not real metal because of how because of the clean vocals and the kind of more pop structure, verse chorus thing that a lot of nu metal bands have. But I still really love it to this day, and I don't care what anybody says. It's my opinion, and at the end of the day, only your own opinion matters. But you're probably wondering, why am I doing 10 lesser known bands? Usually people would probably do like a top 10 favorite nu metal bands list of all time, which I'm not doing that now because I haven't decided my favorite bands. It's a very difficult list to make, and I think it's been overdone. So I want to do a band that highlights the lesser known bands in the genre, the ones that sadly got forgotten about or weren't very successful. And I'm going to be looking at whether these bands aged well. I chose these 10 in particular because I felt that they were the most unique. Some of them haven't exactly aged well and are a little bit cheesy, but their songs are enjoyable enough to really enjoy. Just looking at my notes here. Oh yeah, I forgot in the title as well. Even though it's like nu metal bands, I'm also going to be talking about more alternative metal bands as well. So a lot of the bands that are similar to Breaking Benjamin or 3 Days Grace, I'll see there is post grunge. Bands similar to Chevelle as well. Kind of the bands that were in the early 2000s nu metal era, late 90s to early 2000s, but they have they're more centered around clean vocals and have absolutely zero hip hop elements. So some of the bands are solid nu metal, the other ones are more alternative metal with post grunge vibes. But with each band, I'm going to talk about that because nu metal is a very diverse genre. So many different bands in just one subgenre. It was just crazy. I think I've mentioned everything as far as the introduction goes, but with this list, we're not going to talk about any of the bands like Korn, Limp Bizkit, Linkin Park, Deftones, any of the ones like that. I already said Linkin Park, didn't I? We're not going to talk about any of the really successful ones, and I'm not even going to talk about the ones that were like successful because of like a couple hit songs, but kind of like kind of got forgotten about. Like, for example, Taproot, they had a Poem. Trust Company, they had Downfall. Stained had It's Been a While. Spineshank, Beginning of the End. 40 Below Summer, Rope. Those bands are, still relatively talked about in like the small new metal communities. Obviously, the fans that originally grew up with it, who are like in their 30s and 40s now, and the younger people like me who've grown to appreciate the genre for various reasons. But we're not going to talk about those ones either. I'm going to strictly talk about the bands that sadly didn't get much attention. But before we get to the list, another thing as well, this isn't a top 10 because none of these bands are ranked. None of these are better than any others because I honestly couldn't rank these ones. It was far too difficult for me, frankly. So these are just 10 that I have selected. But first, we're going to go through some honourable mentions. I won't talk about these bands as much in detail, but they were still pretty good, but they didn't make the cut. So we've got From Zero. From Zero, they had 2 albums. They were kind of like a more on like edgier style, more radio friendly. The first album was very like kind of like laid back, didn't take itself too seriously, but the second album was kind of a failure because it took itself too seriously, a bit too angst filled for that band style, and it had really bad production. But From Zero, oh yeah, also their appearance was absolutely ridiculous. Like they looked really stereotypically new metal. So From Zero don't make the list. No One, literally the band called No One. They were more on the aggressive side of new metal, more on the really angry side of it, like Slipknot. Jeez, I forgot to mention Slipknot before. But anyway, they were more on the aggressive side, like Slipknot. Problem is, the only album they released, every song on it sounds almost exactly the same. There's not very much experimentation in the songs, unfortunately. I also put Down the Sun. Similar to Slipknot, they have a bit more of a groove metal, borderline death metal kind of vibe with the screaming, really angry, heavy songs. They had a song called Medicate. Level, who were very much on the edgy side, more high-pitched kind of vocals, Linkin Park and Edema sounding, which is funny because the singer of Level actually went on to be in Edema. I think the guitarist did as well, so yeah, they only had 1 album. Twin Method, a band from Liverpool in the UK, similar to the Beatles. Twin Method didn't make the list though, but a band with a very similar name made the list. Twin Method were also classed as like the Power Rangers of nu metal because each member of the band is like a separate colour. Like you had a guy dressed in white, a guy dressed in purple, a blue guy, an orange guy, and a green guy. Like they went full out with this gimmick, but they were very late to the party because they released their album in 2006, which was not really, the nu metal era had kind of like ended by then, and it was all about emo. So unfortunately, bad timing. Floor. Now Floor were kind of like semi-popular because they had that song Payback and Get Up Again. But I put them on the list. I put them as honourable mentions because although their first 2 albums were really good, the singer is also a big racist and overall a bit of a dick apparently to people. So yet again, similar to the band Trapped, the singer ruins a perfectly good band. Other ones as well, Pulse Ultra. Pulse Ultra were more on the alternative metal side. They were more progressive, more radio friendly, not really as screamy, but the guitars are extremely heavy. And finally, Egypt Central, who would probably also be classed as post nu metal because they released their album in 2008. They released like their work in the late 2000s, which definitely like wasn't the time for it. So yeah, those are the honourable mentions. But now we're almost 10 minutes in. we're going to get to the real list. Alright, let's do this. Number 10 is, remember this isn't actually a ranked list. Actually, number 10, we're going to talk about two bands that I've already talked about on the channel, just to save a bit of time. I've already reviewed these two albums, so you can go watch them instead. But yeah, Atomship, now they would have been my number 1, purely because I love them so much, but this isn't a ranked list, so there you go. Now Atomship, I've already talked about them. They were like more on the progressive side, more alternative metal, because they were more about vocals and singing rather than screaming, but they still had heaviness. They were very progressive metal as well. Use of time signatures. Their drummer is amazing. One of the best drummers I've ever heard. Not even just in nu metal, just of all time. His speed and technique is like unmatched in my opinion. Yeah, Atomship, they were like progressive, with song themings. A lot of the songs are sci-fi inspired. They only ever released one album, and it was quite kind of late to the table. It was more when in 2004 when emo and metalcore were starting to become the big thing, unfortunately. Well, I mean, I love those genres. Well, I'm not really a big emo fan, but you know, I love metalcore, certain types of metalcore, and pop punk. But anyway, they kind of released their album at a bad time, unfortunately, and sadly, two of their band members passed away. The guitarist died like over 10 years ago, but last year in 2020, their singer passed away for unknown reasons. We don't know why to this day, but I put Atomship so highly because that review I made last year, a year ago, Atomship themselves, the remaining members at the time, saw my review and absolutely loved it. And it got loads of likes, it got quite a lot of views, and it was even shared on Atomship's band page, which is a big honour. It's a very big honour for me, honestly, guys. Also, random, but I know I got the Metallica t-shirt on, and I know they have nothing to do with nu metal, but I thought that the aesthetic kind of fit this style of video. But, oh well. Saint Anger is kind of like crap nu metal. But anyway, Atomship shared my video, and I feel absolutely honoured. And their song, they also had a song on the Punisher 2004 movie soundtrack. But anyway, I'm also going to mention 3 songs from each band that I think are standout tracks. Atomship has Pencil Fight, Dragonfly, my favourite song by them, and Withered, which me and my friend, the Ant-Man95, I just referenced him, shout out to you. He actually drummed to the song, and I sang to it as a tribute to the singer who's passed away, Joey Culver. So there we go. And number 9 on the list, who I've also done a review of, is Unloco. Now, Unloco were more on the lines of the alternative side of nu metal, more of the radio-friendly kind of style, very similar to Papa Roach, and possibly Incubus as well, Linkin Park too, just that more like alternative vibe. There's a few hip-hop vibes, like occasionally there's like some rapping, but it's mostly vocals and screaming. But yeah, Unloco were also very angstful band and like very depressing kind of vibes. The songs are like very, very much downer anthems, lyrics about depression and heartbreak and loneliness, those kind of mellow kind of vibes. They were famous. They actually made 2 albums. The first one was called Healing in 2001 and Becoming I in 2003, which I reviewed. Masterpiece album, really underrated. Every song is good, but it is a very depressing album. But yeah, the songs that I also mentioned, the singer has a great voice. They've got a kind of Latin American inspired feel to them, especially with the bull logo that they have, like the black bull that they have and the bull skull. They also got famous because of the Matrix Reloaded soundtrack for a brief point, and I believe they actually played at Ozfest 03. So that's pretty good on them. Some standout tracks from them are Bruises, which was in Matrix Reloaded, and what was it called, that game? True Crime, Streets of LA. They also have Failure and Useless. Those are some tracks from them that I really recommend. So Unloco and Atomship I've already talked about. Let's carry on with the bands that I haven't done. So I think we're at number 8 now. 8 is the Apex Theory, not Apex Legends, that online only shooter game, whatever. The Apex Theory is another. They're on the lines of nu metal, like very much nu metal riffs and that sort of era, but they're more progressive metal and avant-garde. So very strange lyrics, very strange kind of like aesthetic, I guess. Well, I mean, only the singer was, and they're most famous for basically the singer of the band was actually the ex-drummer of System of a Down. So before the main guy, I forgot his name, but the drummer of System of a Down, he was actually the second one. The first one was this guy. I don't know how to pronounce the guy's name, but it's something in I forget. I think they're Romanians. I think Armenians. That's it. But anyway, to sum it up, the drummer of System of a Down left early on and formed the Apex Theory. So yeah. The songs are all really kind of unique. They only released one album. I think it was called Topsy Turvy. They were mostly known because they had a song in the Minority Report video game on GameCube, PS2, and Xbox. Later on, when the singer of the band actually left Apex Theory, they got a new guy and changed their name to Mount Helium. But I don't think they kept the nu metal style. I think they completely ditched that at this point. So I don't really like Mount Helium as much, but it's the same guys, I guess. Some of their best songs are A Possibly, which was their like big hit single from Minority Report. It has really good like effects pedal riffs and bass. Come Forth and Shh Hope Diggy. I'm not even gonna lie, the song is called Shh, like Shush Hope Diggy. So those songs are really good. Also, the vocals, the band actually, Apex Theory kind of reminds me of like the love child between System of a Down's like progressive and avant-garde style with Incubus, Brandon Boyd from Incubus's like melodic and like sensual kind of like vocals, and kind of 3 Days Grace as well. He just sound a lot like Adam Gontier. But yeah, that's Apex Theory. Really good band, but not around anymore. Number 7, we've got, I think we're at 7 now, aren't we? Number 7, we've got Twisted Method. I think I just spit there. I'm really sorry, guys. We've got Twisted Method. So we already talked about Twin Method, but this is Twisted Method. Another band who sadly only released one album. It was called Escape from Cape Coma, and the album cover also kind of looks like something from like the Saw movies. It's like this really like dank looking like bathroom, like a prison bathroom. It's really neon and greeny blue. It's really cool looking. And apparently Escape from Cape Coma is a reference to like their home state. Cape Coma is apparently known for like having basically an aging population. It's got loads of old people living there, and the young people are really bored and have nothing to do. So not only is it a pun about being so bored living in the place, it's basically escape, like they're trying to escape a prison cell. So really interesting concept there. But anyways, Twisted Method were mostly known for their aesthetic. These guys, I'm not even gonna lie, these guys were as wacky as like the Cat in the Hat on, I don't know, ketamine. Take that as you will. But these guys were covered in tattoos. They had spiky green hair. They had like soul patch beards that kind of looked like tattoos. They did like gang symbols. They looked freaking insane. So I think maybe their aesthetic kind of like pushed people away from ever taking them seriously. But they were really good, honestly. I'd also say Twisted Method were again very edgy sort of style. They were very definitely for like the younger demographics, the angstful teens, similar to Linkin Park, and I'd also say they're very emo sounding as well. The singer has a very high pitched voice, similar to Jamiroquai, and even Michael Jackson. Like, listen to Twin Method and listen to that guy's voice. He really does have like Michael Jackson and Jamiroquai vibes. Am I saying that right? Jamiroquai? Virtual Insanity? But anyway, really like high pitched voice. Also, the singer ended up leaving and making a new band called Makeshift Romeo, but that album is extremely rare to find. But Twisted Method, they were a little bit cheesy, on the sort of cheesy side, especially with the vocals, and they did scream a lot, so they were quite heavy. But they kind of like, I guess, like, people struggled to take them seriously, and unfortunately, their guitarist passed away. This is a very common thing with these old new metal bands. Members of the bands that keep dying, unfortunately. So that happened to Twisted Method. I think they ended up finding another guy, like, and started touring again. But like, I mean, before the, you know what happened, the pandemic. But they never bothered to make new music. They only did one album. So I think that pretty much sums it up. Their best songs, I'd say, are Inside Out, Shine, and The End. I'd also put Reach Out. That is also a really good song. But yeah, Twisted Method. We're going to move on to number 6, which is Allele. Now, Allele were more on the lines of post-grunge, I'd say, but their guitars were extremely heavy, but they were definitely on sort of the more post-grunge kind of side, maybe hard rock at times. Their vocalist had like a very grungy, like, sounding voice. Also, they're another example of a band that maybe might have. They came a little bit late into the new metal era. Their first album, Point of Oblivion, was released in 2005, which was definitely like when the emo kind of scene was getting big. Metalcore was getting like really big. But yeah, Point of Oblivion I also found because of a guy that I'm actually friends with, Melomano Addicto. A great channel for obscure new metal, alternative metal, post-grunge, post-hardcore, any of that style of music. If you want to find some good bands, watch his channel. Amazing channel. And I hope you appreciate the shout out. But anyway, I actually found Allele because of him. He uploaded a full rip of the album Point of Oblivion because, trust me guys, that album is so rare. Oh my god, the CD alone goes for like $100, which in my opinion, I'd never spend that much on a CD. So in a way, he's given a free version of it out, which is good. But anyways, Allele, their style is very similar to actually Cold, the band Cold, if you've heard of them, who are also quite obscure, but like they're not as obscure as the rest of these bands. But it's funny as well because the guitarist of Floor, I think his name was Kelly, he ended up leaving after their album Year of the Spider, and he joined Allele. And in 2005, the same year, Cold released their album A Different Kind of Pain, which was just kind of like wimpy alternative rock, not a very good album. But Allele actually stuck to being heavy and sounding like new metal and sounding really heavy metal. So they actually did better than Cold, I think, in some ways. They also did a second album in 2011, but in 2011, but sadly, it wasn't very good. Not a lot of people look at it, like, give it high regard. So yeah, their best songs I'd say are Stitches, which was known because of SmackDown vs Raw 2007, Tightrope, and Lies. All three of those songs are really good. So yeah. Which one are we at? I think we're at 5 now. So middle of the list now. Number 5 is Third Strike. No, not Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. The band Third Strike. Now these guys are actually like more on the lines of rap metal. So they're new metal, but they're mostly focused on rapping. The vocalist, he does sing as well in the choruses, but there's a lot of rap, a lot of hip hop elements in this one, which I might have stated before, but I really don't like the rap side of new metal. Limp Bizkit were okay, but really not like my style, a little bit too immature, as well as Crazy Town and Methods of Mayhem and Primer 55, which, you know, these are okay bands, except Methods of Mayhem, they're just really bad. But a lot of them just kind of feel too immature. Third Strike, however, are actually sort of keep the angst-filled and the more serious kind of vibes. Oh yeah, I like Linkin Park as well. Linkin Park, POD were also quite good rap metal ones, and Zebrahead if they count. But Third Strike, they rapped, but they kept the serious vibes. Like, they didn't go in the more jokey vibe. They didn't go around singing about, like, sex and drugs and whatever, like Rivali did. They were really good. And even though they were like heavy as balls at sometimes, like they were really like heavy, like you know what I mean, like the brass wrecking balls, not that kind. Um, Even though they were heavy at times, they were also like really like mellow and quite like emotional at times with the guitar riffs. Some really good guitar work. They also only ever released one album. It was called Lost Angel, released in 2002. So more of the time when nu metal was becoming kind of melodic and more radio friendly, Third Strike kept going. And unfortunately, yet again, another trend on this list, their singer passed away, which basically removes any chance of Third Strike ever reuniting. Very sad. Also, speaking of, the singer actually looked a lot like the Big Show from WWE. So yeah, they did Lost Angel. They also had a song on the second Tomb Raider movie, the second Angelina Jolie Tomb Raider movie. They had a song on the soundtrack. And but their three best songs, in my opinion, are No Light, Flow Heat, and Cities on Fire. That one's a really good one. Redemption is also a really good song. Just listen to Lost Angel. Such a good album. All right, next on the list, which this is a friend's favorite right here. Next on the list, I have put Mad at Gravity at number 4 spot. Mad at Gravity. Now, Mad at Gravity, I'm really kind of like stretching the line of nu metal because they were certainly part of the era, and the band themselves actually said that they weren't trying to be new, but there's a lot of songs that they've done which do have those kind of vibes in terms of riffs, but they were more like alternative rock, alternative metal, kind of more on the lines of like Incubus and Huberstank. Terrible band name, but good music. Uh, and Injected, kind of more hard rock, but their songs do definitely fit into alternative metal. Now, Mad at Gravity, I'm giving a shout out to Mako Midnight, another shout out. This is actually his favourite band of all time. He introduced me to them. He loves them, and I'm sure he'll appreciate it. And I'm also going to review their album someday. We'll see. But yeah, they only released one album called Resonance in 2002. It's a more softer and melodic album, but the guitar work is really great at times. The songs are super emotional. Their singer Jalen Johnson, I think his name is, um, really great singing voice, really powerful and melodic. He's fantastic. They also have more like of a progressive kind of feel with lyrics about sci-fi and space, as well as kind of like the more angstful topics, I guess. Um, they're also mostly known because of their song Burn was in the movie Reign of Fire, the movie about the dragons attacking the world in London. So yeah, Mad at Gravity, they unfortunately broke up because of issues in the band. It's such a shame when a really good band ends up falling apart. But anyway, three of their best songs, in my opinion, are Walk Away, which I used in my title sequence video, Burn, and Find the Words. I also really like the song In Vain and Undefined. So there we go, Mad at Gravity. Next on the list, I think we're at number 3. We're getting to the end now, guys. Number 3 is Nothing Face. Now, Nothing Face are definitely like solid nu metal, very heavy band, very screamy, very heavy, but also like really beautiful at times, really like melodic at times. Now, Nothing Face were interesting because they were actually more on the political side. So similar to like Rage Against the Machine, System of a Down, and other such bands like that, their lyrics were often based on like ideologies and fighting against the system and greed and all kinds of things like that. But obviously, because I'm not a big politics fan, I've got nothing to really comment on that. But just something to note there, their songs were really massively heavy. The first two Nothing Face albums I'm not too keen on. They're very generic nu metal, very like angry, screamy nu metal. But the second two, Violence and Skeletons in particular, oh, such a great album, guys. Such a great album. It does have problems. There is some filler tracks here and there, but it's a great record. very political as well. It's basically the album's like a response to them getting kicked off the record label. They also have a really cool aesthetic as well. During the Skeletons tour, they actually dressed in like black shirts, button shirts with like red ties, which is a really good look. My friends in real life will know that I wore that costume actually recently. But anyway, I wore that for my birthday. Um, let's see. And another thing to mention as well, another trend on the list, their singer passed away only a few years ago actually. Their lead singer actually passed away in 2017, unfortunately, which is really sad. Basically, Nothing Face will never return because of that, but it's okay. We still have their music to remember. Some of their best songs are Ether, which is the main song from Skeletons, their lead single. If I Were a Communist, very angry song. And which one is this as well? For All the Sin from Violence. Nothing Face, fantastic. Alright, we're getting to the end now, guys. We've only got two more on the list. The second spot goes to Strata. Now, Strata is in a similar league as Atomship, because I found them because of the Punisher 2004 soundtrack. Unfortunately, none of their songs were actually in the movie itself, but they were on like the soundtrack CD that you would get back in the day. Their song was Piece by Piece. Strata are also more in line of alternative metal and post grunge, meaning like they were heavy, but they weren't all about screaming and raging. They were more about like melodies and singing. Also very melancholic and like angst and kind of like somber kind of band as well. Strata, they're also very similar vocal delivery to Chevelle and Deftones in particular, and also Radiohead. Like the singer definitely feels like they feel like a more heavy kind of version of Radiohead, I think. But yeah, Strata also have the problem of they really suffered from the sophomore slump. So they did their first album in 2004, which was like really good, their self-titled album. But their second album, which I don't even remember the name was, completely changed direction. So they went from new metal, alternative metal, to basically turning into like art rock and more alternative rock, maybe a little bit hard rock, but yeah, they definitely went softer with the second release. Now, I have heard last year that they actually did reunite. I don't know if it was the original members, but they put out some new songs on Spotify, and they were alright, but they didn't match the same vibe as the 2004 self-titled album, so they didn't really hook me. But Strata were really cool. I already mentioned their songs are very emotional sounding. Some of their best songs are, I already mentioned Piece by Piece, The Panic, which has a music video, and Never There, which is definitely a breakup song. That one also has a music video. So yeah, Strata, really good. Number one on the list is One Side Zero. One Side Zero is a band that I've discovered recently because of new metal groups that I'm in on Facebook and channels that I subscribe to on YouTube. But One Side Zero definitely have more of a definitely they have a very somber and kind of dramatic feel to them, melancholic kind of feel. They're very much like rainy day weather kind of music. Like their first album in particular, called Is This Room Getting Smaller, the one with the old man's face on it, is the kind of music that you would listen to while looking out the window whilst like you see the rain pouring down. It's just so atmospheric. It's also got Jason Radford, I think that's his name, who was also known for singing on the song Runaround, which is included on the 2000 the Digimon movie released in 2000. So going from the happy and cheerful song Runaround to listening to the same guy singing a band like One Side Zero, big stark contrast. But anyway, One Side Zero have they're also very they're more on the lines of sort of like alternative metal, maybe like hard rock, a little bit of post grunge, but some of their songs do have new metal vibes to them. Just the whole vibe. Their first album was released in 2001, so straight up tells you there. And they did tour with bands like Deftones, so that really tells you. But similar to Strata, they suffered from the sophomore slump. Their second album, I forgot the name of it, was released in 2007 and feels very generic sounding. It really doesn't live up to the first one, unfortunately. But it's no big deal. One Side Zero is still really good. And some of their best songs are Instead Laugh, Tap Water, and I also really like their song Soak. Like Soak has like really like strange drumming to it, like a really weird drumming pattern on the chorus, which definitely makes it unique. But anyway, that's pretty much it, guys. That's the list. I think I'm gonna have to edit this in post because of how long this video has become, but I planned it for a long time, and there you go. So I really hope this video has opened some of your eyes to some new bands, and I hope you will enjoy them. There's probably some bands that I forgot to add onto the list, but these are the ones that were the most memorable, and that's pretty much it. All these bands definitely should have they definitely should have been given like more of a chance, I think. But oh well, music is timeless in my opinion, and I think it's like something good to go back to. It doesn't matter how old it is. But anyways, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed my little another new metal alternative metal themed video. Hopefully there'll be more in the future, and I hope you managed to sit through the whole thing. But anyways, thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the future. Peace. New metal rules.